we're going to have an easy job. Nobody has issues. Okay. Yes, sir.
Type 2 diabetes.
Okay. Type 2 diabetes. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Any interactions between
Say again?
Any interactions between different vitamins and minerals?
There's 100 million interactions between vitamins and minerals, so that'll be a tough one. But we'll do our best. Yes.
Fibromyalgia.
Fibromyalgia, okay. High blood pressure.
Sinusitis.
And sinusitis, endocrine system. Anybody else? Yes.
Dental.
Say again?
Dental.
Dental. Oh, I love dental. Okay. Everybody has teeth, right? Yes, ma'am.
High dose. High dose.
High doses. Okay. If you don't have high dosage, you deserve to die. Yes. Say again?
Customized supplements.
Customized supplements, okay? Anybody else? Okay. Probably what we're going to do here is, again, as we're waiting for the chairman to come in, we'll probably start and have each panelist, is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. What we'll do is we'll have each panelist give kind of a 5-minute rendition of what it is they do in the nutritional world and so forth, and that'll kind of, so you can direct it. What will happen is, when you have a question, you can direct it to a particular individual if they seem like they fit your thing you're asking for, and then the rest of us will give our opinion of that, okay? So, Dr. Dale, you start with yourself.
Hi, now you're sure about the 5-minute thing?
5-minute thing. This is just an introduction.
Okay, so, well, I just got done teaching an hour that I enjoyed very much. Everyone was very attentive and lovely, and you're so smart. And what I do is I'm a traditional naturopath and a certified clinical nutritionist, and I have a PhD in naturopathic sciences, studied in Germany for nearly 9 years. And I founded the California College of Natural Medicine. It's in Ventura, California, and it's online and residential training. We have both online and residential. Furthermore, what I do is I invented, and I'm a pioneer in creating hormone rejuvenation rather than hormone replacement. And what this does is causes your body and allows your body and your adrenal glands specifically to make their own hormones rather than taking toxic hormones and having your liver and other organs get very toxic. So we want to try to take things that are non-toxic. I specialize also in children with autism, people with neurological issues. I train doctors 10 to 11 hours a day, work with outpatient clinics of 2 hospitals, and I have 150 products that I have formulated myself. And they are homeopathic and nutritional. The nutritional is not your normal ABCs, but they're specific. You know, like I have the first and only hepatic glutathione pathway formula. I have a biofilm formula to eat up the biofilm so that pathogens can be killed even for resistant issues, resistant viruses and bacteria. So I try to address things that aren't being addressed and to help humanity the best I can. I really, really believe in getting rid of mercury in dental offices and supporting anyone who's doing any work to make that happen. And just the reason that I started doing all this work is that when I was 22, I had a tumor on top of my uterus that I cured myself, by myself. And I figured at that time, if I could do that, maybe this is what I should do in my life. And so that's why I'm doing it. Also, I have 2 books, Revitalize Your Hormones and Transform Your Emotional DNA, which everyone needs. So I think the most important thing to share with you about what I do is that there's multifaceted ways of healing different health conditions, but we need to look at mind, body, spirit. We need to look at the whole body, not just separate the body into different parts and go to our liver specialist or our kidney specialist. We need to deal with the whole person. We need to take healthy, non-toxic supplements. We need to really, really explore homeopathy and how that can benefit us and actually cure viruses and bacteria. After all, it's been known for 200 years to do that. I believe in sea vegetable. I love seaweed, and I recommend it to people. So I really am a very holistic person. I do not believe that in most cases, except for emergencies, you know, if you were in an accident, you would want to go to the emergency room. But I don't believe medications are necessary. And I think there's many other ways to do those things. And I believe that my 5 minutes is about up.
Robert, do you want to come and introduce yourself as the chairman of this panel? Kind of take over? Yeah, Robert Scott Bell.
Thank you all for, Robert Scott Bell,
Just so you know, I'm doing something very talented right now. Very talented, in fact, because my live show just started on the radio. That's why I'm a little late. I had to make sure everything would go all right, because I had to be in two places at one time. Those of you who are not familiar with the Robert Scott Bell Show, anybody here not ever hear it? A few of you? Yes, a lot of people still. I do a radio show 6 days a week now. Once on GCN, Genesis Communications Network, which is the show that's on right now, the pre-record, obviously. And 5 days a week through naturalnewsradio.com with, Mike Adams, the Health Ranger, everybody, right? You hear natural news updates. And we launched this in February. We're at 2 hours a day through natural news. And it is a message of health, freedom, and liberty like nowhere else in media. And I'm happy to be sharing the stage with these wonderful, wonderful folks here today to bring that message out to you. As we said, we're just launching here with the preamble. And then we're going to have a lot of interactivity in regards to, when we talk about a vitamin panel, are you taking them? Are they taking you? Is Big Pharma corrupting what we're trying to do here? There's a lot of questions that I have for these panelists. And we just heard from Dr. Teresa Dale, and we'll go through again a few minutes with each of everybody. But what I'm most excited about, and I love all of you guys, don't get me wrong here, but this guy, we have a living legend here, Dick Gregory. I first met Dick in person at the Chicago event. Was it a year ago or 2 years now? 2 years now. And I was kind of awestruck about it, but the things that he was referencing, because he had lived through and seen so much of what I read about in history, and a lot which I didn't read, because, as you know, whoever writes the history books gets to make stuff up. And Dick was there so we can get the straight story about what really happened about a lot of things, and a real true pioneer in regards to whole foods and nutrition and bringing it in, because, quite honestly, what concerns me, and what concerns many other people on this panel here as well, is that when we go to get help, when we learn about these things that are threatening our health, whether it be government, but it may very well be the co-opting of what we do, and the slick way it could be marketed back to us, that we could be tricked into taking things that are not, in fact, foods, as vitamins, nutrients, minerals, and things. And it may, in fact, be drugs masquerading as nutrients. So that's a big part of why I wanted to bring this panel together, and Chris Barr was a great inspiration, Scott Kennedy as well. And boy, Dr. Wallach has been at this for so many years talking and stuff. So anyway, just as a setup here, we can come on down the list, Doc, if you want to take over from there. And again, please, I apologize profusely for being late. Understand, I had 2 things at once I couldn't get out of. So thank you all for being here, Robert.
And I apologize because that was one of the causes for you being late.
Yeah, okay, we can blame Dr. Wallach. He'll be okay. So thanks, Doc.
Okay, thank you. Okay, appreciate everybody being here. Appreciate our chairman, Robert Scott Bell. Appreciate everybody on the panel. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm the dead doctors don't lie guy. And the thing that makes my view different on health is that I have a degree in agriculture, and my major was in animal husbandry and nutrition. And we learned how to eliminate 900 different diseases in the livestock, pet, and laboratory animal populations. And these diseases still plague human beings. It's impossible to separate. It's impossible to separate what goes on with animals and what goes on people and people. And I went on to become a veterinarian at the University of Missouri, And I wrote the first study on mass die-offs from pollution in 1962, and that began to drive my life after that. And to, again, make a long story short, because of that, I was the pathologist in a large study from the National Institutes of Health, a 10-year study where I did over 20,000 autopsies, 17,500 and some change, and over 17,500, like say, zoo animals, 454 species, and 3,000 human beings for comparison, 10 million chemistries. And the book that came out of that, a 1,200-page book, is in the Smithsonian Institute as a national treasure, as a reference for all studies that are done on pollution and also on nutrients. I was an abysmal failure at getting the medical system interested in doing what I had discovered, that every animal and every human being who dies of natural causes dies of a nutritional deficiency. So I went back to school, again, to make a long story short, to learn how to be a naturopathic physician.
Somebody ripped their pants up here, never mind.
That's not like ripping a bandage off. All that hair coming out, dude. Okay, so I went back to school to become a naturopathic physician, primarily because they embraced nutrition as opposed to being a medical doctor, because they fended off nutrition. Medical doctors only get 30 minutes of nutrition in 14 years of medical school. They don't even get a test on it. So they look at nutrition as kind of like a third stepchild with one eye in the middle of their head. They got red hair, you know, the usual drill. So for 33 years as a practicing physician, I've come to the point now with all the tools we have, because today I deal with over 4 million people a day through the internet and have programs for every disease you can name. Again, to make a long story short, all of our products are GMO free, okay, and certified organic. Our minerals have been certified organic every year for 35 years. They're the only programs that are complete. And when I say that, it means this. There are certain things we know about nutrition that are true for, I don't care if it's a parrot or a boa constrictor, an elephant, or a human being, it doesn't matter. We all need oxygen. Is there any vertebrate that doesn't need oxygen, right? We all need oxygen. Everybody needs water. Everybody also needs the 90 essential nutrients, 16 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 essential amino acids, and 3 essential fatty acids. And the reason why I settled on the minerals to focus on was because 2/3, 60 of the 90 essential nutrients are minerals. Plants cannot manufacture minerals. Plants only need 3 minerals to make the proper amounts of tons and bushels per acre to make a farmer happy. No farmer gets paid by how many nutrients in your food. They get paid by tons and bushels. And plants can make good seeds for the next generation with 3 nutrients. NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, 1 element, 2 minerals. We need 60 minerals. So you can eat a pretty good slice of genetically modified foods free, right? Genetically modified stuff free. They can be baked with love, organic, and multigrain breads. You'll be 57 minerals short. Most of our problems are mineral deficiencies. And so, because plants can make vitamins, right? And I just hate it when a doctor says, well, eat a lot of variety and you get all you need. That's pretty lame. Again, we've tripled lifespans in animals. We've eliminated 900 different diseases, and I've spent the last 33 years bringing that information to my human subjects. And I'm here to tell you that we can eliminate and prevent all the same diseases in people as we have in animals. And it's much better to put oil in your car before the engine burns up. Take the 90 essential nutrients before you get sick. Don't wait until you get sick. And I'll end my little introduction with, there's not a single insurance policy that will prevent or cure disease. Insurance policies only pay the doctors when you screw up. Insurance policies are only there to pay the doctor when you screw up. It's insane that people spend their life cheating their family of their time, money, and energy so they can make sure they have plenty of insurance to pay the doctor. We wouldn't want the doctor to go without a meal or lose their house or anything like that, so we'll sacrifice everything we own to make sure the doctor gets paid. On the other hand, by taking $3 a day worth of the 90 essential nutrients before you're conceived, all through the pregnancy that you're developed in, from the moment you're born until you die at 150 or 200 or whatever it is, if you take these nutrients, now myself, I just turned 72 last week. I haven't been to a doctor in 64 years, have not been on prescription medication ever. I do my own physicals 4 times a year for $3.79 each. And in the book, Let's Play Doctor, I show you how to do that. With that, I'm going to turn it over to the only living Kennedy I know.
By the way, Doc Wallach has like a permanent exemption from any form of government healthcare, obviously, which is not his disease management, because he's been doing this for so long. I don't think they're going to bother you.
They won't bother me. I sued them 8 times and won.
That's right, that's right. So you take them on.
You've all heard.
Go ahead and Mike.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you've all heard of Jonathan Emord, one of the greatest First Amendment attorneys ever. He is dragon slayer without a doubt. Well, who do you think he sued the government on behalf of? I'm the guy that paid him, and I'm the guy that hired him to sue him. So I am the coach and mentor of the dragon slayer.
The Scout community has been a real inspiration in bringing back this concept of whole foods, this time from the sea vegetation as well, because it's got a great passion in recognizing and raising awareness, like a alarm bell, to say, hey guys, Big Pharma has taken over the industry. They've fooled us. They've duped us. And Scott will let rip on this in a very important way. So go ahead, Scott.
Thank you, Robert, and it's my honor to be here, especially with the academic minds and the experience of the people on this panel. And they've all had personal experiences that got them started. I mean, Dr. Wallach was an inspiration to me in the 90s, in the early 90s, when I began my study of the pharmaceutical industry, how they were involved in the vitamin manufacturing, and how the medical industry did not want to know why my mother's MS went into complete remission by eating some seaweed capsules. But Teresa Dale had a personal experience, and that's what got her going, and I think that's where the genuine healers are. There's something in their past where they have something, and Dr. Wallach, sometimes it's like Albert Einstein being mad at the scientific community or being mad at the medical community, saying, you're saying that you're authority here, but you don't know what you're talking about, or have you ever looked at this? It becomes a kind of a religion, kind of a dogma. And so his karma ran over their dogma. So, my personal experience, and I don't have any letters after my name except for VEG. I mean, and Chris is like that. He says he's not a doc. Because I couldn't learn what I know, what I've learned from going to any college or any medical school. Like Dr. Wallach says, only one class, and I think a doctor's worst nightmare, an MD's worst nightmare, is that they have to become a dietitian. They're drug pushers. A pen, a scalpel, and a syringe are their three weapons. But we're whole organic beings, like Dr. Dale says. A lot of the women that are in the healing profession carry that on. Wholeness means health in Latin, and doctor means teacher. So in that respect, I feel like I'm a physician, and that I teach people how to be healthy and how to get healthy themselves in a simple way, because that's what I do. And my mother had MS, and she was diagnosed with it in 1956 when she was pregnant for me. And 27 years later, I found out about some seaweed pills, and I got them for her. And her numbness went away in her hands and her feet and her extremities, and she never had another attack. 17 years later, in the year 2000, they had MRIs by then. And my two brothers, who still don't take the sea-veg, even their own mother's in remission, clinical remission, said she was probably misdiagnosed. Take your medical records in, which she did. The MRI showed no new demyelinization in 17 years. So she's in clinical remission. Why? Because she was missing nutrients. Her immune system was sensitive to toxins or pesticides. It's like the Great Lake disease, they call it, where there's more toxins. Number of reasons, but the thing that bothered me is I took the sea-veg pills in there that her doctor, neurologist, he didn't want to know about it. And I was 27 going, what do you mean? I was under the naive illusion that these people really did care about curing. But in my lifetime, in your lifetime, they've cured nothing. So in knowing that, I said, well, they're not curing anything. What are they doing? Well, they're making our dying more comfortable. And even that they fail at. And we can go to their hospitals and we can die of things that we didn't even have before we went in. And you know the story. We've all heard it before. So I think it's a horrible illusion. I think that these guys, with their masks and their syringes, I think they're into this final solution thing. And that we should only go to them when we really need them in an emergency or when there's no other solution. So I had to find out what was going on with the seaweed, and as I looked and studied sea vegetation, I learned about nutrition, and it wasn't being taught in the schools. And so I'm self-taught in nutrition and in biochemistry. I love to study how a cell works, how it's intelligent, how you have little creatures breathing under blue salt water right now in your veins. And I think if you just feed those little creatures a little seaweed, they'll take their genetic predisposition and do what they're supposed to do. And that's what homeostasis is. And I think we're all designed to be healthy. I think the world gets in the way. And then the doctors, if your check engine oil light comes on in your body, you go down to the doctor and he clips the light and says, okay, now you're fine. I mean, that's what they do. So this symptom repressing type industry, until they have to remove an organ or put you in a box, is not medicine at all. I think it's horrible that pharmacology has taken over for what would be natural medicine. So it's like Back to the Future. And so in nutrition, I called this panel, I asked Robert if he would get people together for this, because I think it's the biggest lie of the 20th century, that the drug companies run the vitamin industry, that they get us coming and they get us going. And every major disease increasing, the people taking vitamins, these multivitamins, and you think, well, your brand might be different. Well, 350 brands are made by about 100 manufacturers. The chemicals come from about 8 drug companies. And so this is on the front of Reader's Digest. It's a $15 billion lie, though, and it persists. So if you can learn anything about organic nutrition, try to eat right, try to supplement right. And we're looking at our foods, and I'm almost finished here, we're looking at our foods to eat right, even at Walmart. Walmart didn't start selling organic because they wanted to get in the front of a wave. Their customers were demanding organic. So everybody wants to eat better now. They've gotten on that kick. But they're not looking at their supplements yet. They're still taking that one-a-day Centrum, and all those mainstream vitamins are actually synthetic, made from petroleum oil, and they're really just plastic copies. It's like replacing metal with plastic. And, you know, it's a condition of the better living through chemistry lie. And so it's back to the future. Isn't amazing? The only kind of nutrition is organic nutrition. What other kind was there? Oh, the imposters out there giving us the fake stuff. So I'll end with Centrum's #1. That's my arch enemy since Pfizer bought them. Their #1 ad was a woman saying, "I feel better just knowing I'm taking it." The placebo effect.
Yeah.
And if you see their commercials, they're about 10 seconds long. They never say anything or make any claims, of course, unless they throw lutein in there, and they say they make claims for the lutein. But not the chemicals that are in there. So I say you can stay away from all multiple vitamins, and then eat supplements or food that have the most array and spectrum of light energy, which is what nutrition is. It's chemical energy. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dick Gregory, who's been paving the way for the health industry in his generation and now ours. And he's so very healthy. He's crossing generations, and he's been doing this a long time. And so. Without any further ado, Dick Gregory. Thank you.
Let me first say we thank and praise God we've all made it here safely today. And I pray your return and my return will be equally safe. Let me say thanks first to the folks who's responsible for this. A lot of money goes in to make something like this happen. In a time when General Motors and all of them went bankrupt. But this is a thank you to brothers and sisters that you see sitting up here. It's easy for you all now compared to what it used to be like. And Lord, try to be black coming out of slavery. All of the misinformation, all of the things that you couldn't have. And when you finally got to the point you could afford a good meal, these folk come up and said, bacon will kill you. Coffee will give you cancer. And I come out of that school. They're good nutrition to me, that if you had enough of what you liked, that was good nutrition. If it ran out before you was full, that was bad nutrition. So I had to come through the whole spin and then go and talk to black folks. You know, I used to drink a fifth of scotch every day. Some of y'all remember me then. 4 packs of cigarettes every day. Top weight 365 pounds. And then I switched over and everybody started calling me a nut, a health nut. I was drinking a fifth of scotch. I'm like, hey, it ain't cool. You get that. I'm mad. Huh? And now this whole piece done changed. And it's no accident that the folks that's the cause of it, you don't see them listed in the New York Times. Or the Washington Post. Or the Chicago Tribune. And the reason is because when you pick by the universal force, it leaves no footprints. There's a universal force that put this whole planet together, and it don't have to be validated by the New York Times or NBC or CBS. And so, some of you folks that's in this don't know what you call sin. I mean, when I pick up the paper the other day, the second page of the Washington Post, and it talks about these styrofoam cups will kill you. That's the work. And that's you being interested in it, not enough. But enough that they see this. You see, when that tsunami comes, you've got to be stupid if you think you can hold that back. And they're beginning to know now they can't hold it back. Got a hell of a job. Telling my grandmother. And most of the folks I know that vitamins will kill you. Before I heard you, I heard the people saying vitamins is it. Huh? And I didn't want to change because pork chop and barbecue do taste good. And then when I finally get up and that's why what you're doing, you have to do with love. Hitler didn't give me bad nutrition. I got it from my mother, my church, my school, my government. So don't think you're going to ride in on a right horse all at once and now food to just change everything. That means I got to wipe my mama out, my church out, which I kind of suspected something was wrong with that. I mean, they killed my Jesus and they told me to call it a good day. I call it Good Friday. Have no problem. I hang out with folks that cry over the crucifixion of Christ. Were you there when they crucified you? Which is a cheap song to sing. You wasn't there 2,000 years ago, and most of you won't be there now. Because I never understood how you can cry over the crucifixion of Christ, but not be against capital punishment. The state killed Jesus. You wasn't run down by no drunken chariot driver. And if Jesus Christ came back to the planet today and came to America and bugged the wrong people, they'd get Jesus electric chair. Then we all be walking around with big chairs around our neck. Which don't bother me. I'm just trying to figure out how would you make the sign of the chair. and so you just listen to stupid stuff. You know, you think you get the electric chair today, so they're gonna feed you. Homeless folks laying out there on the street, hey, give a meal, but I'm fixing to kill you. They say something inside of me, something is so wrong. I got to kind of give you a treat. Not the fact that you killed 12 people. So if I was me, I would tell I don't want no Last Supper. Just, what do you mean you don't want no Last? Well, the guy invented Last Supper didn't come out too well. Well, we have to give you something. Oh, give me a bottle of wine. Well, that's a bottle. I'm fixing to die. You tell me about a bottle. I want a bottle of wine. You the one told you I didn't want nothing. All right, what year? 2095, and tell them I'll wait for it. So let me just tell you, starting out here, and watch these conferences grow and watch people come and spend their time and energy. You are very fortunate, we are very fortunate, because we can see things happening now. Did you ever think you'd see the front page of a major newspaper that tell your cell phone to give you cancer? That you got to read in between, and they don't worry about it because they know you're not going to stop. Huh? Queen Elizabeth used them, but she got all kinds of stuff hooked onto them. Did anybody ever tell you if you didn't get a cell phone because it causes cancer, you don't have to have one? Everybody in this room with a cell phone, even when it's off, it affects you. Because I hang out with super rich folks, I have the thing in my pocket that will block it for 10 feet away going and coming in. I'm going to tell you that. This is a game they play. And so when you all come in and say, here's what you have to do. This brother here, he's the top of the black community, man. Maybe, see, I got a different view of white folks. Since Obama went to Ireland and ran into his ancestors, so I call all Irish folks brother. And so somewhere, when you stop and think about how fast this is going now, because conferences like this, and don't you think that the food industry and the vitamin is not here? But they should know that they can't stop it. And so I read about, I guess, 1,200 with the newspapers every 12, 13 days. Not that I trust them. I look for the crack in the fabric. I wake up one day and getting ready for that night to, Bin Laden's been killed. Somebody asked me before that, do you think we'll ever catch So you wake up and that Sunday night they put the big trick on you. And all you got to do is flip it. Had our rank told us that they killed Bin Laden, but you can't see him. We dumped him in the ocean and gave him a burial. You wouldn't go for that, but as long as America's jamming it down your throat, you go for it. Because you're more scared of this government than the Germans were scared of Hitler and them Nazis. The difference is you don't know it. But you're about to find it out. And one day they will come and get us.
I ain't gonna let them get you.
Oh, I'm not worried about it. I made 80, I'm over it. And so you sit and you look and and Schwarzenegger, hey man, and I blame it on his wife, and I'm not a sexist. His wife told him, she said, the maid asked for a raise. He said, screw her. That's what she told him. And now the big headline today is Wiener is going to get third. They said, you remember Tiger Woods went to get third? He went to the farm, $3 million. Jeez, what happened to masturbation? You didn't need no help, you just did it. You don't believe it? Ask the brothers in jail. Only effect that masturbation has, you do it for a long period of time, the hand you use get larger. That's how OJ beat it. If the glove don't fit, and so again, we say thanks, but listen. And don't think just being a vegetarian and understanding health and nutrition will make you a wonderful, beautiful person. Hitler was a vegetarian. Went to bed every night, 90 minutes after the sun went down. Never cursed. So one of my good friends before they murdered him, Dr. King, was one of the nicest, kindest, compassionate, beautiful human beings that ever walked on this planet. And he'd eat the booty out of a cow or a pig. So don't think just giving up meat gonna get your spirit together, okay? You don't have to go to join this and join this for your spirit. You're born with that. All you got to do is reclaim it after going around a bunch of folks you call mom and dad and school and that was corrupt. Every time I get on a plane and fly to something like this here, or go to a peace rally, they take my tax money and buy bombs to drop on women and children all over the world. The difference is me, when them damn bombs start falling on my tail to me, I'm honest enough to say payback time, baby. So y'all think y'all clean. Huh? They've terrorized the whole damn world. And now it's your turn to be scared. And so somewhere, when you stop and think, and the good part about what you listen to now, time's running out. Have fun and have fun quick, because recess is just about over. I remember when they came and told me I had the worst form of cancer you could have. I didn't get cancer. My son's a chiropractor. He ran into a medical friend of mine, and he said, "Man, we don't know what this is." So I told my son, change my name and send it to the Armed Forces Institute of Pathology, because if they know it's me, they say, "Oh, this is nothing." And they said it is the worst form of cancer you can have. So I went into my spiritual thing and talked to God as only I know how to talk to God. I said, "Hey, champ, there are a lot of Negroes that deserve cancer, but I am not one of them. Did you fall asleep up there?" I can give you 12 names of some Negroes. And if you need something close to the house, I can do that too. And then 5 days later, a doctor called me to hear me on the radio. He said, "There's some water that you can take." But before I did that, I went to see the Sinai. That's one of the good hospitals you can go die. They told me, he said, "Yeah, we can go in there, I don't know how long, we take 2 ribs out and you'd probably be paralyzed from the weight." I said, "Doc, when you said ribs and wasn't talking about the barbecue hut, I wasn't listening." So thank God I got the test from Cedar cyanide. Because when I went back 6 days later, it was all gone. Doctor said, we should close up, follow you. I just do that. And so again, I just say to those of you, pay real attention now, because you don't have the leeway that we had. That's how fast it's coming down. You never hooked in the floods the last month and a half, and they didn't tell you that 2 weeks ago, a third of all the rice crop was wiped out. And then last week, another third, the first third because they couldn't harvest it, the second third because they couldn't plant it. Corn crop is gone. Basic staple on the planet around the world is corn. And they tricked everybody, put it in your gasoline, and won't even tell you that ethanol messes up your car. But you let a bunch of evil old men control what you eat, and then walk around thinking you so cute, and oh, you're the land at home and free of the brave. We less than 1/5 of the world's population and consume 94% of the world's hard drugs. That's not counting nicotine, caffeine, and alcohol. So you can walk around and think you're free. A white woman didn't get the right to vote in America till 1921. You came on the boat with that boy. A white woman in America today with a PhD make 87 cents on the dollar. As a white boy, you running all over the world trying to liberate people, ain't even liberated your own damn mama. That day's over. And so I say to you now, thank you. Thank you. Go out when you leave here. Go into the, and look at the folks over there that paid to rent some space to show you your product. You don't even have to buy it. And so somewhere, I just can't say, thanks enough. And somewhere you got to remove that thing off your eyes and see the real world. A guy in New York get a rape from France for raping a maid. Are you crazy? This man wears $35,000 suits. He's in a room that costs $3,000. What's your name, bro? If you checked in a hotel and went to a night in a $300 to $400 room, don't nobody know you are. If you check in a hotel and you paying $3,000, everybody know you're there. Why would you commit a crime in a room where everybody know you're there? But that's you Americans. Whatever they feed you. What they didn't tell you is after that rape was supposed to happen, he went by and had lunch with his daughter. They got us to believe he ran to the airport trying to get away. Came back and got his stuff. The maid. He had the whole monetary system all over the world. I didn't know how dumb he was. He needed to come in the ghetto. Because I could have beat that just by saying, I heard somebody knock on the door and say, maid service. So thank you, and thank you all for interrupting me.
Now, on my show for many years, I've talked about some of these issues that Dick had done, not so eloquently and not but, the reality is that we've been sold, as they say, the proverbial false bill of goods here in America about a lot of things, and we bought into it. Partly, I think, maybe a lot to do to the fact that the food was devoid of these vitamins, minerals, trace minerals that everybody up here acknowledges so essential. Without that, we can't run our bodies. We can't be in this temple that is a gift of God, as far as I'm concerned. And we can't operate. We can't see these things. Or if we do, we can't act on that information because we don't have the energy accessible because, the stuff that we put in, not only not there, but if it is there, it's the wrong stuff, whether it be pharmaceutical or otherwise. And now we've got our government, our FDA, basically doing undercover sting operations on dangerous Amish terrorist farmers. Right? They're very dangerous because they want us to drink raw milk. Actually, they don't care if we don't. It's a freedom thing. You like it raw, fine. But they actually spent a year, FDA, doing a sting operation on that. And then we find out that they go to a Kansas winemaking company recently who produces elderberry juice as well. And they had the audacity to reference some science about elderberry's benefits for the immune system, helping you overcome temporary setbacks, maybe even chronic setbacks with infectious disease. And they were raped at gunpoint. And then we have in the Pacific Northwest, our federal government is saving us from birthing pools now. You Hear about this? They want pre-market authorization to little kiddie pools, basically, with elevated sides that women who work with midwives and have water births, they simply want to get into that tub of warm water and have a baby. And the FDA says, nope, you can't do that. We're coming in and you got to go for 510K pre-authorization on a new, basically, drug device. It's unapproved. And I said, you know, I was laughing tragically about the whole Obama bin Laden, what's his name, Osama bin Laden thing. And they said they just killed him. I thought, dude, if this guy had kidney failure, renal failure, was on dialysis, even if we didn't find him, he was going to be dead. I know I lost my dad who was on dialysis here in America and could go 3 times a week, having access to that. But I thought, you know, if we had just sent the FDA to go get him, we'd have found him on 9/12. Without chemotherapy, they're going to find him. Take that down in no time. And that, you know, this is the absurdity of what we've done. We've turned, you know, the terrorists and the martyrs, and the real terrorists are right here among us. And they're those promoting a paradigm of basically death, destruction, mayhem, a culture of death here among us. That those who would promote life really genuinely through nutrition, through empowering people to heal. And even I speak up for the medical doctors as well that are trapped in a very dangerous profession due to the control and licensure of this pharmaceutical industrial complex and beyond. And it perhaps does as much or more damage than the military industrial complex, quite honestly. The only thing is the military industrial complex is a little bit more honest about what they're doing. You know what they're around for. The drug industry is here pretending that they're here to help us and save us, but they're doing, according to Death by Modern Medicine, if you all read Dr. Carolyn Dean's seminal book, 784,000 Americans a year are dying due to FDA-approved medications, substances, methods, etc. That's over 3/4 of a million Americans. And we went to so-called undeclared war on the planet for 3,000 people. And I don't belittle those deaths, but the reality is, what about the 784,000 of us that we're dying every year due to that industry? And it's approved, so it's okay. Now, a dear friend of mine here, Christopher Barr, who's a nutritional historian, has taught me a lot as well. Been a great adjunct to my show. I have him on a lot. And he talks about nutrition, but in ways that, you know, Big Pharma does not want you to know. FDA certainly does not want you to know. But coming back to what everybody here is aligned with, that we need to get our nutrients from food. How do we do that? What's the difference? And I'm going to turn it over to my good friend Chris to wrap up, and we're going to go to some Q&A with everybody here. So thank you, Chris.
I'm going to stand up because I can't see the people in the back. They're telling me to duck down here, but no. Oh, wow. There we go. Thank you, Paul. I can't see the people in the back, so I'm not sure they can see me. So now I can see everyone, and hopefully everyone can see me as well as hear me. I am a nutritional historian. I'm not a doc. I'm proud of it. I do teach doctors, but I only teach the smartest doctors because they have to be smart enough to listen to me. Let me just start off on a historical aspect. The word, this is a vitamin panel, they're calling it. There's no such thing as a vitamin. That's a true statement. Now, most people here don't know that. They either don't know, don't remember, or they're ignoring the facts. The word was coined as an error by Dr. Casimir Funk, who actually made several foundational mistakes in the early work for which he's now renowned historically. The first item that was identified as one of these substances that they had identified, they knew certain A and B and C, they had these things identified. They didn't know what they were. They didn't know what to call them. And the first one that he isolated was a chemical called thiamine, which was a sulfur-bearing amino acid. So he said, aha, these substances are vital to life and they're amines. They're vital amino mineral substances. So he coined the word vitamine, V-I-T-A-M-I-N-E. Well, the problem being, the next one they found wasn't an amine, and neither was the next one or the next one. Or in fact, most of those that they call vitamins. But rather than admit, oops, we goofed, they just went, oh, well, before anybody notices, we'll just drop the E off the end of there. And vitamins! They're all made out of minerals. How many people know that everything in this room is made out of minerals? Okay, everything on the street, asphalt's made out of minerals. Okay, everything's mineral. Okay, but these are vital mineral substances. So from the very foundation, it's been a mistake. This is the kind of work that I have done since the 1970s. I live between the proverbial rock and the hard place. The rock is medicine that doesn't want to hear these things, but the hard place is this industry that doesn't want to hear either. As I said, they either don't know, don't remember, or they're ignoring much of what I'm sharing here today. We need food, and this is an old item that's been well known. In fact, the vitamin called C, a man named Albert Szent-Györgyi. Anybody ever hear of Albert Szent-Györgyi? He was awarded a Nobel Prize for his discovery of the alleged vitamin C. Well, which in fact wasn't, but that's another long story we don't have time for. Well, in 1937, when he went to Sweden to receive his Nobel Prize, he informed them there that there was a difference in the substance that he was awarded for found in food. You can go to the Nobel Prize website and find every speech from every Nobel Prize winner. And at the end of his speech, he noted that there are things that the vitamin C in food can do that which he had created couldn't do. They ignored him. He was sponsored by the Rockefellers to come to America. So he shut up, well, except to his students. In his students, he taught that there was a difference between nutrients that are grown and all the rest. More than 95% of everything in the marketplace on the store shelves are ground up rocks, petroleum byproducts, and coal tar byproducts. Do you know one of the things you're told that cigarettes are bad for is coal tar? Well, they take the coal tar byproducts and they manipulate them chemically and make B vitamins. The vast majority of the B vitamins at this show are coal tar byproducts and petroleum byproducts. Okay? There's a difference, and your body knows the difference between 100% whole food nutrients and all the rest that pass for nutrients that are counterfeits, and if we were honest, they're drugs. Okay? When we take herbs and pharmaceuticals, isolate chemicals, and then synthesize them, we call that a drug. Well, how's it any different from petroleum byproducts, coal tar byproducts, and ground up rocks that they manipulate and call a vitamin? Okay? Again, there's a difference, and your body knows the difference between 100% whole food nutrients and all the rest. I actually went undercover for many years. Dick Gregory was addressing these big newspapers. When I found that, well, I knew medicine wouldn't listen, I found very difficult to get anybody in nutrition to pay attention. So I went to one of the biggest newspapers in the world, multiple Pulitzer Prize-winning newspaper. I started there as a typist, worked my way up to be an editor, and I saw how they wouldn't print the truth on nutrition, how they lied, and even when the facts were given to them, continued to tell the same lies. Because the biggest portion of revenue for the newspaper industry and media in general is pharmaceutical advertising. Okay? So they didn't want to hear the truth. In 1996, on Christmas Day, there was a front page story on the LA Times, the Wall Street Journal, most newspapers across the nation. Selenium may prevent cancer. Well, of course, that wasn't news to me. I knew that not only did it prevent cancer, but selenium is the oldest nutritional treatment for cancer. And how many people in this room knew that selenium treats cancer? Okay. Less than a dozen. How many knew that that information is 100 years old? 1911, Dr. August von Wassermann, a historically notable and significant researcher at the Robert Koch Institutes, utilized sodium selenite, a really garbage form, but that's all they knew. And he injected sodium selenite into tumors and killed them. Okay, and that, most people in this room don't know that. Most people in this industry don't know that. Okay? And in 1996, 85 years later, it's front page news that selenium may prevent cancer. In fact, that study that was published was a study of more than a decade utilizing, by the way, 100% whole food selenium, which they don't really want you to know about, but that's the truth. That was news that it may prevent it. Well, I happen to know one of the leading selenium researchers in the world, and I called him up. Now, I hadn't talked to him for more than 10 years. He didn't know that I was working at a newspaper, or he probably wouldn't have told me what he told me. I just said, hey, how you doing? He said, where you been? I said, oh, here and there, doing this and that. And I said, I was looking at this study in this report in the newspaper. He said, isn't it great? And I said, well, kind of. So this Dr. Clark, I recognized the name Larry Clark. He was he had been the co-author with Dr. Gerald Combs in 1982 in an article in the Journal of Nutrition Reviews. Gerald Combs was a professor at Cornell. He's now in charge at the USDA of human nutrition research. But that's a joke. That's a bad joke. Anyway, he had written a paper with 7 graduate assistants, and one of them was a Dr. Larry Clark. So the lead author of this study was a Dr. Larry Clark, and so I called my friend way high up in business, and selenium researcher, and said, do you know this Larry Clark? And he said, yeah, he's my best friend. I said, oh, I hit paper. I said, well, this newspaper press conference, he said, we were surprised at the results that we got. Well, the Dr. Larry Clark that was a co-author of this paper in 1982, the article in the Journal of Nutrition Reviews was called, Can Selenium Modify Cancer Risk? And the conclusion of the article was, yes, it can. And they cited more than 100 scientific citations. So why was he surprised at the results that he got? And then he also, the other quote in this article said, we don't recommend selenium supplementation. And I thought, what? And my friend said, oh, well, let me tell you. He began to lay out the details. I won't cover all this time because we have a lot of people here that want to ask questions. But the short story was, when he went to the press conference, he was first called into the administrative offices of the University of Arizona at Tempe, where this cancer center was. And they informed him that if he recommended selenium supplementation, he would be fired. And he didn't have the courage to stand up and say it anyway. Okay? So there's a difference in nutrients, and these are the types of things. I went to the assistant to the editor-in-chief, and I said, man, have I got a scoop. And I laid out all the details, more than I'm sharing with you, on this cover-up on selenium preventing cancer in America. This study showed a reduction of more than 50% of total cancer incidence in more than 1,300 individuals in a decade, more than decade-long study. And yet we can't recommend selenium supplementation. There is no substance ever identified, whether it be a drug, a medical procedure, any other nutrient, vitamin, amino acid, nothing else that's ever shown this type of result in reduction of cancer. And most people here don't even know any of these details or much of this at all. Okay, so I went to the editor, laid all this out, and at the end, well, the assistant to the editor-in-chief. And he scratched his head and he said, well, Chris, what's the local angle? Well, in my head I screamed, but I maintained my composure in front of him. It didn't take me 4 seconds to come up with an answer. I said, well, how about cancer is the #2 killer of local residents and the #1 disease they fear the most? And he got up and turned and walked away. And they didn't cover that story, and many others I could take all day long telling you about. So I got out of the newspaper business, sort of. I'm still kind of in it, but about 15 years ago. And I'm teaching and sharing to everyone who will listen about whole food nutrition. And now I'm seeing people reversing their cancers, reversing their diabetes, reversing their arthritis. I'm just telling you what the research says. I'm not a doc. You know, if they ask me, hey, what can I do for diabetes? I say, well, since I'm not a doc, I can't tell you to take this 100% whole food grown form of chromium, 100 micrograms 3 times a day, to metabolize your sugar properly and reverse your diabetes, because I'm not a doctor. So I can't tell you to take 100 micrograms 3 times a day of a whole food chromium, because the other forms won't work at all, and the most popular form is actually a poison. That's documented, by the way. It has been documented since before it came to the marketplace. And by the way, if you look up chromium picolinate, the patent is patented by the United States government.
Well, it must be good now.
USDA.
So this is the type of research that I have done as a historian and a nutrition researcher and a science researcher and a reporter and a broadcaster. And I'm seeing more results now than I've seen in more than 10 years. Although I'm not saying anything different or much different than I've said for 30 years. Just more people are starting to listen. The truth is the same now as it was in 1911 when selenium cured cancer. Except hardly anybody knows I live between a rock and a hard place. The rock is medicine. The hard place is the nutrition industry.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
This is why this panel is so very important. I mean, we've got people that are seeing through the lies and sharing these things and, hopefully teaching us how do we navigate this terrain. And Doc Watt's been at it for a long time as well. You want to add something?
Well, thank you. I just want to add one more chapter for Chris's nutritional history here. I got introduced to selenium when I was a little kid growing up with beef cattle, and they would get muscular dystrophy if you didn't, white muscle disease if you didn't give them selenium. Well, in, let's see here, 1998, I believe it was, I paid a guy by the name of Jonathan Ward to sue the FDA to be able to say that you can prevent and cure cancer with selenium, and I beat the FDA in federal court. Hoo-ah! Now you need to add that to your story on the history of selenium, because the circle has come around.
Right.
And I have beat it's one of my 8 cases that I beat the FDA, and Jonathan E. Moore's been the attorney each time.
That was a brief history I just gave. I know that information, and I'm glad that he shared it because it's important.
Yeah.
But he had to sue him 7 times because they kept ignoring court orders. Anybody here try to ignore a court order and you'll be in jail. The FDA ignores court orders right and left, and they get more tax funding for more agents to go and terrorize innocent people.
Well, if you're terrorized and you're innocent, call me. I'll sue him.
Yes, Dr. Wallach has put his money behind, put his own personal money behind forwarding the action against the government. I think, we need more people like that. We need people out there to give to any action and political action committee that goes up against the FDA. They're here to protect us. And Chris was, if he had more time, he'd go into how the research that one scientist was doing. I think he also said that in high amounts, this vitamin C can cause cancer. Wasn't it carcinogenic? I mean, the government has known that these high RDA amounts of chemicals have been causing breast density, breast cancer, and increased. It's a carcinogenic. And there's a 3,600% increase in cancer since the turn of the 1900s, and there's about 160 carcinogenics in our food, water, and air that are on the CDC's website. We can't prevent cancer, but they can sure cause it. The right for them to cause cancer, and then say that they're looking to heal it. It's really an illusion that they're even there to help us. So remember, they're making your dying more comfortable, and they're there when you have an emergency. But try not to get that far. First 3 letters of illusion are illness, and so I think it's a Hitler-like final solution. I think it's mass final solution. Keep the people sick, keep them needy, put them on the government health care, on the government cheese, and then you'll need the card to get your universal health care. And why not put your medical records on there, your driver's license, and next thing you know, your currency, and you won't be able to buy and sell without it. And that's where we're moving toward. Just to keep your freedom and your own personal freedom and autonomy is a battle today. Just to keep them off of you, forget being an activist like the 60s. Just keeping them out of your life, out of your body, out of your food, your air, your water is a full-time job. Because I believe they want to put their hands in the genes of the children of God. I think they want to get into your genes and they want to play around with who you are and what you are. So I see it as a form of spiritual molestation. And so that's why I've always said no to just say no to them in the flu shot. Remember, people probably lined up for that flu shot. Do you know they can turn off the nurturing gene in a mouse with 1 drop of liquid? Everything else about the mother with a litter of mice is perfect. But she walks away from her children. They knew how to turn the nurturing gene off in the 80s. So they can put this kind of thing in any shot or any pharmaceutical, and they can genetically engineer the entire population. They're starting with the vaccinations. I think that's one of the ways they're going to vaccinate and control the public. Now, this seems outlandish. This seems like something out of Orwellian, but But when you think about it, look around you. They talk about alien abductions and alien things. Aliens are us. You want to see mutilations, go down to the local hospital. I mean, that's how wickedly horrible it is. And to push this whole system as medicine, as like the Patriot Act spin. The Patriot Act. Patriots, they really do like surveillance. They wanted the King of England to surveil them more. So look at how they spin everything. And that's why Dick reads the paper, because he wants to know what they want him to think. That's why I watch NBC. But so, I mean, freedom is what it's all about. The freedom to be healthy, and the freedom to control your own destiny and say no to the man. And so I really appreciate being on this, and I'll get off my little soapbox.
Yeah, you talk about getting their hands in your genes. Of course, the TSA is already doing that when you go to the airport, and they've done it to children too. I mean, it's horrific what is happening, and it isn't just the genetic modification; it's literally turning us into chattel.
I can't complain, I can't enjoy it.
You like it? Yeah. Go ahead, Dr. Hill.
Well, I just wanted to talk about the things you can do. And to allow you to understand that there's certain things that you can do and have the freedom to do, and that's to make wise choices about the supplements you do buy. And most of the stuff, if not all of the stuff in the health food stores, you want to read labels carefully. You want to understand that there are certain laws. There's one in California, and that law may be in many other states, that says that if there's magnesium stearate or heavy metals or other things added to the product like excipients or flow agents, that if it's under 5 parts per million, it doesn't have to even appear on the label. So you're looking at a label and you're thinking it's clean because it doesn't have magnesium stearate or other things in it. But the labeling law allows you to have 5 parts per million of total toxic chemicals and metals in the products themselves. And I know this as I manufacture products and have to deal with these people who are certified and who are licensed to do this, to manufacture products and offer certificate of authenticity and of what's in the product. They certify what's in the product. They tell me, well, if we add a flow agent of magnesium stearate to the product, no one will know because it'll be under 5 parts per million. And it's mortifying. So there's one thing you can do. You can make wise choices and you can read labels and you can look at most of the supplements that are made by companies that are drug companies, that are owned by drug companies, and they could really care less as far as, how much heavy metals is in a product and how much is not. So you need to be very careful of that thing, of that particular thing, and also look at if there's any methyl polyparabens in a product. Those are petrochemicals. MSG in your food, but I've also seen MSG in certain products in the health food stores. So we need to really make wise choices and focus on the things we can do to make a change right now. I mean, if we sit there and just get worried and upset about the government is doing without taking action, it's useless. Taking action is joining groups, getting into an activist group, joining the mercury-free dentist organization that Charlie Brown is here talking about, getting involved with that, getting resolutions passed in various cities so that dentistry will not have mercury in it. And I know that's not about supplements, but let me tell you something. You have mercury in your mouth, you're going to need more supplements.
And they're putting it in the poor people especially.
And they're putting it in poor people and kids and all kinds of things. So things you can do is to remove the dental garbage from your mouth, have the right substance replaced, because mercury in your mouth causes malabsorption of the nutrients in the food that you eat, besides all the heavy metals. Now, I don't know if you're aware of this, but if you take a methyl mercury meter and if you measure right in front of your mouth when you're talking, you'll see mercury is being released while you're talking, just from talking. When you chew, there's even more mercury being released if you have the heavy metals in your mouth. And if your fillings are dark, that's what it is. Gold doesn't turn dark. Okay, so if you're wondering, do I have mercury or not, open your mouth and see the dark fillings or call your dentist. But this causes malabsorption, gut issues, candida, cancer, problems with cardiovascular issues. If you have wisdom tooth or the back tooth in your mouth, there's something wrong with the tooth or the substance that's on it. This causes issues. This makes you need more supplements.
That's a very good point, Dr. Dale, as well, because these toxins, mercury, they bind out whatever good that we get in. What Chris was talking about, selenium, robs your body of all of those essentialities and precipitates the growth in cancer, the cancer industry.
So what man does to you has to be undone. Okay, and that would be a primary thing. Supplements, look for things that don't have heavy metals in them, or minerals have heavy metals in them. If there's from a rock, it's going to have heavy metals in it, and they don't have to put it on the label if it's under 5 parts per million. And I know that for a fact. So you have to deal with companies that are really conscious and aware of what's in the products and who send them out for independent analysis.
By the way, props to Dr. Teresa Dale. She's balancing out this raw masculinity. See the rest of this table, he's hanging in there and doing it. I have a question for Dick Gregory, if you don't mind. How is it that...
If I do mind.
And I'm going to ask you. That's about it. So, how is it that, you, of course, have woken a lot of people here, and we're in the process of waking up to see through what we call the lies. Really to wake up and kind of change our lives and be examples to others, but first to save ourselves, and then we can help others. Is there something you can advise for others, or is it just an individual path you just have to go through and suffer?
No, it's other people suffer for you. One of the great things that Michael Jackson had done for the whole world, but we're so busy looking at him the way the government wants us to look at him. How many of y'all in this room know Michael Jackson owned 50% of Sony? How many of y'all know that? 50% of Sony.
Sony Music.
Okay, if it's sold today, it's worth $40 billion to him. But he didn't have to answer those cheap shots. It wouldn't have done no good, because they know if NBC tell you. How many of y'all know his Neverland has more oil under the ground than they got in Kuwait? But they kept telling you how broke he was, and how this and that. Let me just say this to answer your question. Michael Jackson studied James Brown. Foot movement. For 29 years. 29 years. Michael Jackson got so big, he would make more money on one show than James Brown would make all year. But he studied his foot movement. And he would do all the stuff that James Brown was doing. And then one day, he slipped into the moonwalk. After studying it for 24 years. And it fascinated the whole world. People didn't know why. They didn't know 29 years of research went in before he could get that other level. Why am I telling you this to answer your question? One of my 3-year-old grandchildren can do the moonwalk better than Michael. And what does that mean? Once somebody breaks through something, then you don't go in with that barrier. You start past that. Someone ran the mile and under 4 minutes. They're doing it in high school now. And so this is this whole, that's the saving grace. Not a group of people. Listen to this sister here. We don't need no, do you know if she was a government agent working for that filth, they'd have 40 guards to guard her. To come here. They would have planned her route 8 months ago. They know what she's doing when you work for them. They know you need it because somebody ought to do something to you. They know that. And so I say to you, when you hear this information, money is not power, education is not power, information is power. And stop letting people run crap down on you. I get in the black community. This black boy's wearing their pants below their drawers. Hitler never wore his pants below his drawers. This pharmaceutical company that have a right to kill you, the mob dress immaculate. And then one day, one of them got to say, well, last week, they busted cucumbers and they found out wasn't nothing wrong with it. Then bean sprouts, they found out wasn't nothing wrong with it. I said, is anybody going to ever have a recall on crack? Has anybody ever put out some bad cocaine? I mean, have there ever been a bad group of Pepsi Cola? All the stuff that kill you, there's never no recall. So maybe we in the good industry, we need to go hire them. They know how to put out product. That's not this. No, it's simple. The mindset have changed. And you older folks, you be very careful. There's somebody talking to these young folks to you who you look down on by the way they dress and the way they talk. And you better look. Hitler never wore his pants below his. You ever bit your tongue? You know how bad that hurt? These young white children is walking in, running 5 and 10, 15 screws through their tongue, and they're not taking painkiller. And y'all so busy not understanding. You don't know what that means. Universally, when I started inflicting pain on myself, all y'all better watch out. You don't understand these young. Go back and look at how many years chemicals have been in our food. What the hell you expect to produce? Huh? What do you expect to produce? And so if I was mentally retarded, never been out of the basement, and come to this town today for the first time, in 15 minutes I can find crack, but the FBI can't find it, and y'all tolerate that, because once you start messing with the FBI, they're going to pay you a visit. And so yes, we can turn this around. We can turn around with information. With information. But as long as they keep telling me that I'm a good Christian, as long as they keep telling me that Jesus Christ was crucified on Friday and it took him 3 days to rise, and I count on my fingers. If I Saturday, Sunday, that's Monday. And all over the world, Easter celebrated on Monday, except America. And the only city that celebrates it on Monday is Washington, D.C., because they part of that occult. And look, King was a good friend of mine. King was assassinated on April the 4th. Kennedy was shot on November the 22nd. Every year, a group of us come together. Same day. But nobody's ever said, wait, if Christmas and Easter, Good Friday represent the crucifixion of Christ, how come one year come in April, another year come in March? You can be killed 2 different months. That's what they have put on you. That's what they have put on you. And somewhere, Whole Food, the biggest health food industry in the world, they owned by Staples. You can't be no bigger gangsters than them. I can't even go to Staples and get an organic notebook. And so somewhere, when you hear information like this, don't let it scare you. That's what the government depends on, the truth scaring you. And then you see this whole thing change because a wave comes out of here. Out of here. They're beginning to find out now dopamines. They begin to find out now that when a child is separated from his mother, the dopamine level go down. And that's serious. And then they're doing research with mice and monkeys. And I keep asking you, what animals do y'all like? You send people to jail for life over a dog, but you eat a pig. What animals do you like? I used to be on Peter's board, and I went to the banquet that night, and they eat steak. I asked them, what animals do y'all like? So somewhere, when you stop and think, well, what been done to you. We laughing at these youngsters with these tattoos on. They been knowing that when you dye your damn hair, it creates cancer. They been knowing that. But they got you laughing at something. Anybody ever caught cancer from a tattoo? So somewhere, as the truth come out, you're going to be frightened. As the truth come out, you're going to find people on these panels frightened because they didn't know. Do you know that more people die every day from honey than cocaine? Huh? Do you know that? You weren't supposed to eat honey. The bee go out and get honey to bring back to the queen, and then they belt it, burst it up. That's called doo-doo. Huh? And then when you eat it, it's already been pre-digested. It goes directly into the bloodstream, throws the blood sugar off. The body hits with insulin. Sometimes it throws too much in. Now I got to hit with other chemical. You die to give you a autopsy. All they can see is trouble with your heart. Or they don't know. And so again, I say, you know, you are born as a perfect specimen in the history. You weren't put here by pharmaceutical companies. You weren't put here by banks. You were put here by the world universal intelligence that put the whole universe together. And all this other stuff is just shortcuts that don't work. And that's why I'm just thrilled to sit and hear this. Because when I started in here, we couldn't find this. Couldn't find it at all. Brother here, just, and then I'm seeing something that I saw in the civil rights movement that most of y'all didn't know about. I saw the spirit. You realize 98% of the people in the forefront of the civil rights movement had reverend in front of their name before they had PhD? Do you know if you can find the older folks in the civil rights movement and see them walking down the street, you never know what we went through because it's not shown. You throw it off. But when you're there looking at it, y'all know, we tell you about the success. You know the ones that got murdered and killed and framed and all kinds of stuff that happened to them. Income taxes. But they sit here and bring you their gift of honesty and integrity. And the best way that I know for you to help yourself quick is find someone with integrity that you trust, that you don't have to go check back behind everything. They've already done the checking for you. And just go out there. You don't have to take nothing. You know what I like about whiskey and prostitution? They never lied about it. They never said a hoe will make you stronger and whiskey will make you smarter. Honesty in advertising. So if you take any vitamins at all, stop taking the rest of them. If you don't see a difference, positive 6 days, stop taking them. You don't test. You don't need no damn FDA. You can't trust them.
That's right.
And so this is what we need to do. If you're thirsty and you drink water, immediately you feel. Now, and finally, let me say this about dehydration. Don't make the mistake because you're dehydrated to drink water fast. Okay? Because it goes right through and come out to urine. You got to drink it slow so it'll go into the cells. Go into the cells. It's a simple process. And I would also say run down and get this tape here so you can sit and listen to what was said. Huh? Go to that counter out there, that table out there, and look at this. And I don't know how many of y'all saw the movie last night on cancer. Have you ever seen anything like that? I mean, and then come outside and they're not for sale. Huh? You think you can go in a crack house and come out and you can't buy some crack? So again, I just think I guess I better get down to you. Thank you.
I had a question about the mercury fillings. I had mine taken out and I didn't really research it enough. And after I had it done, I found out they put plastic in it. So I was wondering.
You're talking about what they replaced it with?
Yeah, right.
So was it biocompatible enough? Does anybody want to address the dental amalgam replacement issue? Probably Dr. Dale. We had a question about the dental amalgam replacement issue. They put in, a plastic type something?
Plastic in?
Yeah, the problem with the plastic is that most plastics contain bisphenol A, which is an estrogen. It softens plastic. So you have to make sure that you try to get porcelain and that you actually ask for and read the don't trust, and I hate to say this, boy, believe me, forgive me, but don't trust the dentist, okay? Just get the actual, the ingredients in the plastic and read what it says, and if it says aluminum or heavy metals or whatever it says, tell them no. No. That's a good word to remember to always say when you go to a dentist.
So the ceramic?
Ceramic can have it in there too. Porcelain is better, gold is the best, but then again they mix gold with different things like platinum or palladium, and people can have allergies to those. Gold is not gold. Gold is mixed with silver, mercury, tin, it can be mixed with copper, it can be mixed with zinc, a number of different things. So you have to find out what kind of gold, what it's mixed with.
Yeah. And then the real holistic dentist check for biocompatibility as well.
Yes.
So these are the issues you want to go to somebody who's really schooled in that. Go ahead, Dr. Waller. Any other questions? I'm going to be coming around after this one.
Okay, I want to speak to preventive dentistry because all things that dentists do are unnecessary if you're doing the right things beforehand. Remember I said earlier that insurance pays them when you screw up, you go to the dentist when you screw up. If you're biblical, like I really appreciate Dick's comments as related to biblical stuff. If you believe in the Bible, in the Genesis, the first book of the Old Testament, it says we're made in God's image. Do you think God has cavities? Do you think God has receding gums and gingivitis and periodontal disease? I don't think so. All of these diseases are mineral deficiencies. Repeat that. All dental diseases stem from mineral deficiencies, and these are self-inflicted things. And what you do is you spend $3 a day for every 100 pounds of body weight on what we call the Mighty 90, the complete 90 essential nutrients, 60 of the essential minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 essential amino acids, and 3 essential fatty acids. You do this before you're conceived, throughout the pregnancy that you're developed in, from the moment you're born. You will not have dental problems. Okay, you will not have dental problems. Now myself, remember I'm a veterinarian as well as a physician, and tigers don't floss their teeth, and dogs don't floss their teeth. And if you feed them a good commercial diet, they will be 25 years of age without the need for any dentistry. If you just feed them raw meat, they'll get receding gums and gingivitis and cavities, and their teeth will fall out, and their breath will be bad, and it'll be awful. But if you feed them a commercially prepared diet with all the known essential nutrients in it, appropriate, and you notice it says this dog food is formulated for a toy dog under 10 pounds of body weight. This dog food is formulated for a 35 to 50 pound dog. This dog food is formulated for large breeds and giant breeds and so on. And we've learned everything we need to know about dentistry from the animal industry. And if you give yourself the 90 essential nutrients, then sugar and so forth are not going to bother your teeth. You won't need a dental hygienist to clean your teeth. You won't have pockets or measuring all the time, because receding gums and periodontal disease is nothing more than osteoporosis of your face. You ever notice why older people, their face looks all sunken in? You can tell an old people by looking at their face. Their face is all sunken in. That's because they have osteoporosis of the face. Now, the whole idea is you take the 90 essential nutrients before you need a dentist, and you will never need a dentist. The dentist industry will go out of business. Then you won't have to worry about whether there's mercury in your fillings, because you won't need fillings.
Correct. Well, questions on additional questions? We're here for you. No questions? I have plenty. If you don't have, yes, ma'am. I want to come back to you. Get that.
I have a question regarding the soy milk that's used in baby formula, sports drinks, and now it's being marketed to senior nutrition drinks. Is any of that stuff safe?
Everybody wants to talk. So go. Somebody, Chris, go ahead.
Soy is great pig food. It's not fit for human consumption at all, period. And they make a big deal, the Orientals eat soy. If you look at the, I think the China study, Colin Campbell, when you actually look at the soy that's consumed, it's a very small amount and it's fermented. We've been sold a bill of goods in this nation. Why? Because soy is really easy to grow. It gives big harvests, and they can do all kinds of things with it. Soy is great for inks, for making biodiesel. There's a lot of good things you can do with soy. eating is not one of them.
Dick, go ahead.
I can speak with this on authority. One of the great minds that ever lived in the history of the planet was a black man named Dr. George Washington Carver. Never was around no black folk until he went to Tuskegee because he was raised on a white woman. By the time he was 7 years old. This country would have fallen from the boll weevil, which was eating up all the crops, cotton. And cotton was America. And the government had no way of solving it. And so a group of white scientists was invited to Washington, D.C. to talk about how they could change this, or could they? And they remembered this black man in Tuskegee named Dr. George Washington Carver that asked him to come. He was embarrassed because he had to ride on a segregated train. He couldn't ride with the rest of the scientists. And he couldn't live in a hotel with these, so they had to live with a big old family. And they was there for 5 days and forgot he was there. And they were so embarrassed, they was getting ready to close the meeting down at 5 o'clock, 12 o'clock on Friday. And they said, well, we'll bring him and let him go on at 5 minutes to 12. And at midnight that night, they were still talking. And he's the one that said, we will rotate crops. And that's why you're here. Then, sorry lady, hear me. Then the military came to him in the early 40s. And they said, we would like for you to create something that we can get paint, ink, glue, plastic. He invented soybean for the government. It was never meant for you to eat. And if you look at the real research, the fastest growing cancer group in America are vegetarians. The soy butter, the soy milk, the soy cheese, the soy this.
Soy oil.
Whole thing. And you give it and take it too. And tell you something else. See, I've always wondered, homosexuality have been here for years. But what's happening in America is unreal. Soy. You look at the real research, soy products change the male hormones, the female hormones to male hormones. Huh? I had a woman that was doing some research for me, and she started crying. And I said, what's wrong? She said, I've been trying to understand. I never understood my daughter. She's a lesbian. And looking at this, I put her on soy milk when she was a child. And so, more and more is it. Now, do we know this in the government, multi-trillion dollar, they don't know it? There's nothing you can hear in here. There's a lot of stuff you hear my grandmother didn't know. There's nothing you can hear in here that the FDA don't know. Huh? Don't think we that bright and they that stupid. No, we that bold. And we that not afraid of these thugs. We that spiritual. Well, I am sometimes. and so again, it's hard to convince people. You're so locked into it, you would believe that we're wrong and the government's right. Huh? And so somewhere, when you really, that's why I say find people that you trust. Huh? Find people that you trust. And then you see the whole piece change. But again, I'm telling you, you cannot find nothing that people are flocking to now like soy. And they go say, well, the Chinese been eating it on this. It's totally, it's a different form. And they was eating it long before George Washington Carver was born. Huh? And so again, let the rest of them talk on it.
Go ahead.
I'm going to be short. She's long.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, first of all, it should be illegal to call soy milk, because the nutritional value of soy water or soy drink has no remote value, nothing in relationship to the value of milk. Okay, it should be labeled soy water or soy drink. Same way with almond drink instead of almond milk, and rice milk should be rice water. Secondly, this is the 16th year I've done interactive radio, and for the last 2 years, get a call from some distraught grandmother or mother saying, I have a 4-year-old daughter or granddaughter who's got Dolly Parton boobs, and she's dripping milk, she's got pubic hair, and she's got a cycle. Could it be the chemicals in the meat? I said, well, how much meat is that girl drinking or eating? Well, none. She's not eating any meat at all. I said, well, why are you asking about meat? Well, because everybody's talking about the chemicals and the hormones in the meat. I said, well, is she getting soy milk? Well, yeah, she's been on soy milk since she was born because she couldn't tolerate her mom's milk. And I said, well, get her off the soy milk and call me in 2 weeks. She'll call me in 2 weeks. She says, you know, I got her off the soy milk. Her breast shrunk back to normal, flat little chest. Her pubic hair fell out. She's not cycling anymore. Now, it's equally as bad in little boys. They get what's called gynecomastia. You give a little boy soy milk, and he's going to get breasts and start dripping milk, and he'll walk around with an erection like a little toy soldier. He'll have pubic hair, and he's only 4 years old because of soy milk. Do not give any living human being soy milk or anything that's of that type. Okay? Do not do it. My wife is Chinese, and they've been, as Dick says, they've been eating soy for thousands of years, but it's always fermented. And the fermenting process destroys the soy isoflavones.
But wait a minute, I didn't know about the erection. Maybe I better read. Maybe I better redo this research.
Well, I didn't think you black folks had that problem.
Well, you know, you got a point there. But when I listen to you white folks listening to my Cialis, if you have a 4-hour erection, go to the emergency room. They got to be talking to white folks. So I come a 4-hour erection is a treat. You go down to the pharmacy and tip the pharmacy and hope he never cut your supply off. But children, you know, children. Yeah, in the living room there, my grandson, 4 years old, walked with me 2 months ago. Granddad, what's my erection? I said, go ask your grandmother. I forget how wise and smart you women are. He came back with a smile on his face and she said, I said, she tell you? She said, she told me she'll tell me later, but for me to tell you, she hasn't seen one of them things around the house in years.
Oh, well, it's hard to follow that.
And you know, you're still talking about this hard too.
So just to add a little bit to this, is that what it does is if you have soy, and especially if you have soy and then have in a plastic bottle, you're getting the bisphenol A, which is estrogen from the plastic bottle and the soy. So you have to look at eliminating soy. And it's very, very important. Anyone who's estrogen dominant already, who has cancer, male or female, eliminate soy. Children, eliminate soy. You have to think about the soy milk, the soy hot dogs, the soy hamburgers, the soy cheese, soy oil, all of it. So you have to watch what you're eating. I don't like canola oil either. I like, you know, not canola oil. So I mean, the point is, just take this and act on it. Thank you.
Scott, you have something?
Yeah. This is really good stuff. You know, I didn't even know that much about the soy. I knew there was some bad precedent, but the plastics, estrogen imitators, aren't they? And they're in their food supply, they're in their water supply. And I have a number of articles how boys, or they're finding frogs, and now young boys, are full of estrogen or female hormones. Now, Dick talked about, you know, the FDA, they know all this. They do know, and I believe that there's actually, you know, conspiracies when two people get together and talk about something. So if you don't believe in conspiracies, you know, join the illusion that everything's fine. But I think they're feminizing the entire world, especially America. They're taking the maleness out of our lives. And you look at these top TV shows. I was just looking at the news. All these men, stay-at-home men and mommy men, and the women's the brethren. And this isn't sexist at all, because women have been put down for ages. And I like equality. I was born and raised in Rochester, New York, but when we got the right to vote, in the middle of 7 kids with 4 sisters in the same house. So I am an equal opportunity. I believe in equality between all people. But they're trying to feminize the world, not just in our minds, but in our physical, in the water supply and everything. So we need to stay away from, again, science. We stay away from science. Put a con, the word con, which is a prefix, before the word science. And con means take away, or contrary, contradict. Use your conscience, and science is not your creator. And so some of the early studies on vitamins, we talk about soy, but the vitamin industry is a $15 billion industry. That's really causing breast cancer and it's killing people. And so tell your friends and your neighbors, stop taking all the vitamins, stay away from the everything man-made that's in our food and our water supply. Don't worry about the radiation in Japan. Worry about what you're eating, drinking, and breathing in your own home, and take care of the children. The children really need better nutrition. So, I mean, I'm a proponent of seaweed because they haven't changed it, and I get it fresh, and I have it tested, because it's not something you haven't heard anything from the government on seaweed in 5 years, because they know how good it is. The Japanese smoke the most cigarettes in the world, have the lowest lung cancer death rate in the world. They're looking for cancer cures, and there's one over there, and it's called seaweed, and they're eating 7 grams a day. So eat your seaweed, drink clean water, breathe clean air, and stay healthy. That's
one
my
last
pitch.
thing on this subject. When you get through digesting your soy, you better take another look at the milk. They say the greatest thing you get out of milk is calcium. You get more calcium out of eating this piece of paper than you get out of milk. The number one ingredient in milk is not calcium, it's casein. Casein builds a bone structure to carry the body's weight. Cow's milk has 300 times more casein in it than mother's milk, because cow's milk have to build a bone structure to carry a ton plus. Mother's milk has enough casein to build a bone structure to carry 175 pounds. Now, why am I bringing this up to you? The most important ingredients that they get out of casein that comes in all milk, especially cow's milk, is kerosene and gluten. Now, is it an accident the number one milk company in the world, headquarters in Ohio, Borden's Milk, just happened to make Elmer's glue? The only place on the planet that had crib deaths is where cultures that use cow's milk. And what they won't tell you is some babies can throw off the gluey substance in casein. It's still going to affect you, and some can't at all. They die in the crib, they call that crib death. And the crib has nothing to do with it. Only the milk that come out your breast, the universe, so intelligent, meant for you to get that child. But all at once we start saying, well, we like flabby, flabby, they nurse you, they got flabby titties, and now y'all got big firm titties and flabby children. But somewhere, as the information come out, you're going to be shocked. Because all the stuff that you've been led to believe was okay. When you start talking about scientific, and then finally, all the cultures on the planet that have haircuts in the culture, the women outlive the men. The cultures where there's no haircuts in the culture, men and women live to get the same age. I read that research in 1967, haven't had a haircut since. But you know what helped me? What helped me? When I went to jail on the Indian reservation, I got to hang out with Indians and got to know Indians. And it dawned on me, Indians that come from the tribe that's never had haircuts, they have no beards, no sideburns, no mustaches, no goatees. Why? Your hair is to the body what a leaf is to a tree, and that whole process of photosynthesis takes place. And so we run around and we say this, and we say that, we got research on this and research on that. When you put it all together, then you're going to see something that changes the body. Thank you.
We see a lot of science that's not science, and that's part of the problem. Scott's talking about that. It's scientific. They've converted it into a cult, a religion, and that's a different thing than what because I like science, but there's not a lot of it going on. But the people here are actually more scientific than what they're doing at the NIH, by and large. Quite honestly, because it's political science and it's economic science. There's an end result that they're focusing on. It's not our good health.
Getting away from the vitamins, but what about